The weirdest CIA experiment. Fern video, W Fern.
This pigeon is a CIA spy. It's wearing a tiny high-tech...
All birds are CIA spies. Birds don't exist. They're all well, you really think there's animals that have evolved wings in the capacity of flight? They're all government drones. When you kill them and break them open, chat, that's when they morph into actual animal meat.
A camera, and it's
They're all fake. Pigeons don't exist.
about to gather intelligence on Soviet nuclear submarines. This is a dolphin. Right now, it's being trained to carry bombs and attach them to enemy vessels,
Wait, the CIA trained dolphins to carry bombs?
possibly miniaturized nuclear bombs. This raven isn't just flying around. It's on a mission. Currently, it's heading towards the hotel room of a KGB agent to plant a bug there. And this cat has been sent to spy on a Chinese diplomat. It had a microphone surgically implanted in its ear, and there's an antenna in its tail. This all sounds like science fiction, but animal spies are very real.
Using ravens is badass. I'm a little f***ed up, but using ravens are smart as f***. For those of you that don't know, ravens and crows kind of look similar, but ravens are like massive. Ravens are huge. They're way bigger than crows are, and they're not pack animals. Crows kind of live in groups, and they kind of share knowledge through generations, where ravens are more kind of like solo, like lone wolf creatures, and they're fucking so smart. So fucking smart. I don't know what the IQ of a raven is. What is the IQ of a raven? One recent study claims that by 4 months old, ravens have full-blown cognitive skills before reaching full maturity and can rival adult gray apes in intelligence. Wow. By 4 months old.
Their stories have long been shrouded in secrecy, myths, and legends. But in 2019, the CIA released a large trove of previously classified documents. They give us a glimpse into how the CIA tries to weaponize animals. Today, we will look at the 4 most spectacular...
If I wanted an animal army, what would it be? Let me think here. If I had to command an army, it would need to be something that has a long lifespan. You wouldn't want a rat army. Rat armies are pretty bad because they die quickly. Birds, it depends on the bird. I think a bird army could be pretty good. An elephant army, you know, not really stealthy. You need something on the in-between level. I'm gonna go with, I feel like cats would be pretty good. Cats would be a pretty good army. They're smart. They can work alone. You could train them. They live long. And they have a lot of babies. Wolves? No, I would go cats. If I had an army of animals, I'm not talking about, like, for killing people. I'm saying for, like practical usage.
Spectacular projects.
Humans? Okay, well, that would be slavery.
They reveal a story of Cold War paranoia, unchecked hubris, absurd waste, spectacular failures, and wild ideas that were taken too far. Most of this...
The military? I'm saying for personal use. I'm not saying like I'm the government. I'm saying in my backyard, I'm training cats to fucking plant bombs or something. Like that's like, in that situation, that's what the CIA's doing. They're not going to train a human to do that. That would just be manipulating somebody.
This video is based on declassified CIA documents. Of course, the CIA wants to present itself in a certain way.
Raccoons! Raccoons. Raccoons. The creatures of the night. Yeah. That's a good army. You could train them well. They're little bandits, too. They steal something. You could rob a bank with a raccoon. You could rob a bank with a raccoon. You got enough raccoons? Hey, you could probably do high scale level crimes.
Light, and it's careful about what it reveals. Some parts are heavily redacted, and sometimes other sources give conflicting information.
No, possums are weak. Somebody said possums. We're going to need a rewind. Possums are weak, though. Possums a bad pick. They'll either play dead or they're just stupid. They're not a good pick. Marsupials, not a good pick. Not a good pick. You don't want one of those. I think raccoons are probably a better choice. Possums, I don't know. I think a possum's more useful in large level scale crime, dead than alive. I think a dead possum is more useful distraction than an alive one. Personally. A tardigrade, those are microscopic. Ants. Or bees. bees, a bee army.
Most of this video is based on declassified CIA.
Do you have to have like a license to just like grow bees? Like, could I just start like raising bees? There has to be some legality on that. Like, I'm not allowed to just start a bee farm without like some sort of license. Grow them? Yeah, like make a fucking like farm for bees.
Most of this video is based on declassified CIA documents. Of course, the CIA wants to present itself in a certain light, and it's careful about what it reveals. Some parts are heavily redacted, and sometimes other sources give conflicting information. We can only present what we know, and if we don't know something, we'll be transparent about it.
Well, the CIA is probably leaving out some of the, you know, areas where they kind of tried to train pigeons to, like, suicide bomb people, if we're being real. Like, there's probably some instances where the CIA didn't want to be like, hey, yeah, we trained an animal to, like, run at somebody, and then we would detonate it.
As always, you can find our sources in the description. Humans weaponize animals to make use of special capabilities they themselves lack. A dog's sense of smell is up to 10,000 times stronger than ours.
10,000? Bro, whenever I see Daisy sniffing shit, I always envision her brain seeing it as a visible trail. You know when your dog, their nose starts wiggling and they're like... I'm like, what are you smelling? Because, like, if I smelled what they're smelling, I'd just be like, that's grass. Like, it's just grass. They're picking up scents from, like, 6 months ago that are, like, still lingering within that pedal.
It's perfect for sniffing out illegal drugs. To cross the Alps and invade Italy, the Carthaginian general Hannibal used war elephants. During World War II, the Polish army deployed a brown bear named Wojciech to the Italian front. In Iraq, the US military worked with dolphins, putting their unparalleled echolocation skills to use detecting underwater mines. And some work with animals is veiled in secrecy. By their nature, it's hard to tell exactly how far these programs have progressed. In 2019, a beluga whale was discovered in Norwegian waters wearing a camera harness. A tag identified it as belonging to St. Petersburg, Russia. It was quickly accused of being a spy. In 2007, Iran apprehended 14 squirrels near a nuclear enrichment plant. The animals were arrested.
Apprehended them. Halt! Halt! You're under arrest! Just a squirrel just running away. How did they apprehend a squirrel? They shot it. How are you catching a squirrel?
Arrested as spies. In 2018, a senior military advisor told journalists that Western nuclear spies had been using lizards to collect information about Iran's nuclear program.
How?
Animals have an inherent advantage that human spies lack. People simply don't notice them. Unlike human agents or advanced technology like drones, animals can typically pass undetected, even in secure areas. But there's a problem. Animals are not natural spies. They need training. During the Cold War, the CIA faced a mighty adversary, the Soviet Union. In trying to claim the upper hand, the agency explored all sorts of methods, some of them highly unorthodox. Psychedelic drugs, mind control, silent killer weapons, stealing Russian submarines, and, of course, animal agents.
I think a raven is the perfect animal, dude, because they're just so fucking smart. And you don't look at ravens. Like, you just hear, ah, 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 and you're like, yeah, it's a fucking bird.
In the mid-1960s, the CIA launched Project Axiolite. The goal was to provide reliable trained avian vehicles for emplacement, transport, and or recovery of reconnaissance surveillance sensors to meet operational requirements as defined by the sponsors. In other words, the CIA was training birds to transport things like recording devices. But which birds were spy material? There were several candidates, some stronger than others. The cockatoo seemed to be a wild card.
That's a bad one. That's too unique of an animal. People want to look at it.
States, we are completely in the dark as to what the possibilities are in regard to this critter. There were high hopes for the hawks. Brandy and GB are two of the program's hawks. They were especially reliable and determined. They could locate specific objects or features in strange territory. They could carry a 13-ounce package for more than a mile. They could even remove objects from a harness they themselves were wearing. But in general, they were not considered strong flyers. Horned owls respond to a high-frequency whistle and can be recalled by trainers, even in extreme low-light situations. But in daylight, their ability to discern objects...
Have you ever seen an owl's ear? It's gross. I'm going to show it. Hold up. Owl's ear. It's just like it's just like a hole in their head. Like that's just a hole in there. I mean, obviously like our ears are holes, but it's like it's just a big asshole.
Is much worse than that of other birds. As time progresses, one unlikely candidate stands out.
Why do you know this stuff? I love learning about random stupid shit. Like random stupid shit. It's just, I don't know. It's just fun. Like I like knowing like little, I think it's more so like I go down big rabbit holes of like learning about stupid shit that most people don't care about. Like I'll hear a fun fact about something that most people would be like, oh, cool, forget about it. I'd be like, really? And then I'll spend an hour Googling it.
Doodah.
And I'll retain 20% of the info.
A raven. We now know that ravens are extremely intelligent birds. They have excellent memories, can plan for the future, and are capable of using tools and solving puzzles. Researchers have found that 4-month-old ravens can perform certain cognitive tasks, as well as adult-grade apes.
We just Googled that.
CIA documents usually stick to dry facts, but Doodah was Project Axiolite's superstar. In one memo, an agent dedicates a whole page to the saga of Doodah. Project Axiolite began at a Navy facility at San Clemente Island, off the coast of California. There, the CIA tested the strength of various birds. Their task, fly from the island to a boat and back. This might sound easy, but the distance was challenging, and the winds could be strong. Most birds can manage to fly between 50 yards and 1.5 miles.
50 yards? 50 yards? What are we fucking breeding chickens? You throwing it off a cliff? An animal that can't fly flies 50 yards. What fucking weak-ass bird is that?
Doodah, meanwhile, flew 3.5 miles.
Oh, God.
A few months later, he was almost doubling that distance. He was also problem-solving. In every session, he would figure out exactly the right altitude he needed to fly for the unique wind conditions.
Wow.
Aggressive native birds posed a major threat.
I wish I could fucking fly, man. Just, have you ever, like, looked up at a bird that's really high up and been like, they're having the time of their fucking life? Like, maybe they're actively not thinking about it and they're obviously looking for food. Like, they see everything. They're like a mile up. Not a mile up, but they're high as fuck. They can see, like, over skyscrapers, they're that high. Like, they can see all of New York.
Threat to the CIA trainees. Wild gulls and ravens soon figured out their training schedule. Once they knew when the CIA birds would show up, they would lie in wait and then attack. But Doodah solved this problem too. To avoid the gulls, he'd keep to a higher altitude and outfly them. The wild ravens were another matter. They would hide behind the bluffs, waiting for an opportunity to attack. Doodah's
Why would they attack Doodah?
solution was to engage in brief dogfights with the ravens, while leading them further and further from shore. After about a mile, they would give up and turn back.
Okay, but this is like a used case, though. This bird is just smart as fuck.
Ravens' intelligence made them good at more than flying. According to
Bro was actually the fucking John Wick bird. Like, he had multiple groups of birds trying to attack him, and he just fucking solved it himself. The CIA was like, dude, we can't really train the bird right now. There's Oh, never mind. He's beating the shit out of them.
Navy animal trainer
Never mind. The Raven's just solving it himself.
Bob Bailey, they could be taught to recognize specific desks, open drawers, and carry heavy objects like file folders. The CIA started training ravens like Doodah extensively, and eventually used them in the field. According to the CIA documents, this is how they did it. A CIA agent wants to record a secret conversation between enemy agents. He knows where and when it's taking place, down to the building and the exact room. Now he needs to get a recording device close to the conversation as inconspicuously as possible. To do this, he goes to a nearby building with a view of the targeted location, no more than 300 feet away. With him, he has a trained raven. At the appropriate time, he aims a tiny flashing laser at the window ledge outside the room where the conversation is taking place. Then he releases the raven from its cage. The bird takes a disguised listening device in its beak and flies to the spot indicated by the laser to plant the equipment. The agent then turns on a special desk lamp to signal to the raven that it's time to return.
Dude, you gotta be fucking kidding me, man. How do you teach a bird how to do this? Like, how do you... I understand the bird's smart as fuck, but there had to be a guy that figured out, like, just through repetition, like treats and stuff like a dog, but, like, this is highly complex stuff.
Later on, the raven is sent to retrieve the
Like, the bird could just fly away. Like, the bird... if the bird really wanted to, I understand it's trained, but if the bird really wanted to, it could just be like, nah, I'm done with this shit. I'm just gonna go live in the wild.
The recording device by the same method. At least, this is how it's described in the document, Operator's Manual, Avian Delivery System. In real life, things didn't go as smoothly. Training a wild animal to be a spy takes time. It takes planning. If the CIA is still training animals today, they're most likely using Udo's all-in-one management software.
Oh, they're really using Udo?
The wrong windowsill. And when a device is molting, they a lot less challenging than spy training, a raven. When ravens were molting, they couldn't fly comfortably. One put the listening device on
Molting? I thought that's like a thing snakes and crabs do. Molting?
the wrong windowsill. When ravens were molting, they couldn't fly comfortably.
Molting? Molting? What does that mean? What is it doing? It's getting rid of its feathers?
One put the listening device on the wrong windowsill, and when a device made it to the right windowsill, the microphone picked up so much ambient noise, the recording was useless. The document suggests that this whole technique was only used a single time, and the attempt seems to have been—
Damn, how do birds grow feathers? Birds growing feathers. Time lapse. Oh, God. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. Oh, hell no. What the fuck? Yeah, that thing is so creepy. Oh. Oh my God. He's like, yo, right here, he kind of looks like a level 3 character from like My Singing Monsters or something. One of those dragon games. Jesus Christ. What is he freaking out about? What bird is this? What bird is this? I still can't figure it out. Oh, is it a cockatoo? Aww. Wait, now it's not that creepy. So it grows it like hair. Oh my God, dude, it looks like a ball sack. It looks like a ball sack, man. Oh. God damn.
been unsuccessful. Unfortunately, Duda's luck
That's AI? That's not AI.
eventually ran out. One day he was attacked by a pair of wild ravens he'd fought many times before. All 3 birds disappeared from sight, and Duda never returned. He was presumed killed in action.
Oh my God, no way they wrote off the bird as KIA.
The saga of Duda mourns his loss. He was in a class by himself, writes his trainer. He had a very large bag of tricks and was loved by all. In view of these talents, I suppose I shouldn't have been too surprised when he so quickly became a star on this project. In spite of our deep sense of loss, writes the anonymous agent, we do understand such tragedies are inevitable. Ravens aren't the only birds the CIA used as spies. In secret locations across the United States,
I think another thing about having a bird like that is when you have an animal that smart, you mourn it even more than you would like a regular pet. Like you mourn, the smarter the animal is, the more you mourn it usually. Like if you have a hermit crab and it dies, you know, like I had a hermit crab when I was a kid and I had it for a while and it died and I was like, I was bummed for like a day and then I moved on, you know, and then like, or like a fish, right? Like a small goldfish or something and it dies. You're like, oh, I need to have a fucking funeral for my fish. Your dog dies, big deal. Cat dies, big deal. Your raven dies, oh my God. Like that thing, or like if you have a parrot, they live like 70 years and they fucking can repeat words.
Project Axial Light was also busy turning the humblest of birds into covert eyes in the skies. It's September 1976. Aerial photographs show the Soviets building nuclear submarines in Leningrad. But the CIA needs more information. Spy planes fly tens of thousands of feet above their target, while satellites are restricted to space. From these distances, it's impossible to take detailed high-resolution photos. Enter pigeons. A pigeon could fly about 100 feet over a target any time, day or night, and regardless of the
I wish he started playing like a fucking like boom 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 like some Doom music. Enter pigeon, and then he starts playing the Doom at World's End or whatever it is. What is it? Is this it? No, it's not this. This one. Enter pigeon, and it's just like a high macro zoom shot.
A pigeon could fly about 100 feet over a target any time, day or night, and
Aren't
regardless
they stupid as fuck? Maybe I'm wrong. I thought pigeons are like really dumb.
of the weather. Most importantly, no one would notice it, and they could clearly be trained. Pigeons are no strangers to war. During World War II, the British National Pigeon Service would drop cases of the birds over occupied Europe. People would send them back with information about daily life or even military details like troop movements. The key was their unique honing instinct. Anywhere you release a pigeon, it can find its way back home. Even today, this ability still isn't fully understood.
Wait, we don't know how they do it. They just do it. So if I blindfolded the fucking pigeon and like some fucking Taken movie-esque scenario drove the pigeon 50 miles away, it would be like, I just need to go this way. I need to go southeast.
To exploit pigeons' natural talents for aerial photography, the CIA's Office of Research and Development created special 16mm cameras and harnesses for the birds to wear. The harnesses were made of leather and attached to the birds with adjustable Velcro tabs. They were designed to allow the birds full freedom of movement while holding the camera steady during flight. The cameras were lightweight and miniaturized. Each had a small battery-powered motor that advanced the film and cocked the shutter. Each camera had its own timer. When it went off, the camera would take pictures for just a few minutes, resulting in 150 to 220 photos. Together, the camera and harness weighed just 39.5 grams. To produce useful images, pigeons needed to fly directly over their target at exactly the right time, but this could be difficult to arrange. Once they were released, the pigeons would fly back home in a more or less direct line. If the target was located on that line, there was a fairly good chance the pigeons would fly over it. But in covert situations, it wasn't always possible to release pigeons in ideal locations. Some areas were restricted, others were too exposed. To get around this problem, CIA handlers tried to teach the birds ABC flight. Point A is the point of release, point B is the target, and point C is the pigeon's home loft. To begin with, temporary targets a short distance away were established at point B. When they flew to these targets, the pigeons were rewarded.
Okay, I feel like this is a fun job, though, no? Like, out of being in the military and how, hard and horrible it can be, being the guy that just trains pigeons is pretty cool. Like, you're just like, yeah, I'm training a pigeon to spy on people.
Over time, they were conditioned to expect this reward. Next, the reward at point B was eliminated, but to receive a reward at point C, they had to fly over point B first. And that's how they trained a pigeon to move from A to B to C. Once the birds were conditioned, they moved on to longer training flights. Inflatable white radums 20 feet in diameter were used as point B. The CIA trained and tested birds in lofts in Oregon, Virginia, Missouri, and Alaska. Alaska, it was noted, shared certain geographical features with areas of interest in the Soviet Union. The training yielded mixed results. Birds were often lost along the way. Some birds simply flew away. Some were killed by wild...
And they just left? And they fucking lived out there. Imagine you find a wild bird, like, just with a camera strapped to its back. I would fucking freak out. If I saw a bird land, I was like, is that a fucking GoPro on that pigeon right in front of me?
Wild birds. On the longer training flights, many birds flew too low along freeways and were hit by cars. Birds sometimes disappeared while wearing the special equipment that had been developed for them. Losses were time-consuming and expensive. Each time a bird was lost, a new one had to be purchased and trained. Some of the
how much does a fucking pigeon cost?
Photos taken were very high quality. Some missed the target entirely. Even when the birds were fully trained, they could be relied on to complete their ABC mission only about 1 out of 4 times. A C flight still held potential, though. If the release point was chosen carefully, with the target area between it and the home loft, CIA analysts felt there was a high probability the birds would fly over the intended target and obtain the high-resolution photos required. So the CIA knows that the Soviets are building nuclear submarines in the Admiralty and Sudomex shipyards in Leningrad, now known as St. Petersburg, and it needs high-resolution photos. Time for the pigeons to shine. An agent will have to release the pigeons with the shipyards between himself and the pigeon's home loft. To do this without being detected will require clandestine release techniques. The documents mention 3 that are considered...
Bro, why do we gotta do this shit, though? Like, I'm not trying to get into, like, a war talk, but, like, if we were a peaceful, like, world, we wouldn't need to be training pigeons to fucking spy on people. If we weren't in war, Like, we would just, like, obviously this is, like, valuable info to learn about animals and how you're able to train them. But it's just like, dude, like, they're doing this for the sole purpose of gaining info on, like, an enemy state.
Detected will require clandestine release techniques. The documents mention 3 that are considered as options. One is releasing the birds from underneath a large overcoat. The second option is briefcases and shopping bags with trick bottoms. The third option is this Volkswagen Beetle. A hole is cut in the floor. When the car is parked, pigeons are released through the hole. They waddle out from underneath the car and immediately take flight. The operation is to go ahead by August 1978, but here the trail goes cold. It's unclear whether the operation actually ever happened. The documents don't say. While the CIA's birds may have gathered invaluable aerial photo insights, other agents were being trained to sabotage enemy ships. This is James W. Fitzgerald. He's an engineer and physicist. It's 1964, and Fitzgerald has been thinking
Dude, I feel like you could train dolphins to, like, kill people. Like, they're really fucking smart and big animals. It's not like training a bird to, like, spy on people.
about dolphins a lot. At a cocktail party, he mentions that he believes the animals could be used in warfare. The person he's talking to happens to be an admiral in the US Navy. He's intrigued enough to introduce Fitzgerald to someone from the CIA. Around the same time, the TV show Flipper debuts. It's about a crime-fighting dolphin in a marine reserve in the Florida Keys. Like most dolphins, Flipper is smart and friendly to humans, and he responds well to commands. We'll never know whether Fitzgerald and the CIA were inspired by Flipper, but it is plausible. According to the
The Flipper show is the reason they decided to fucking hook bombs to dolphins and make them plant them in ships.
Washington Post, at this point, the CIA sends Fitzgerald to Florida, where he establishes a small laboratory. The same year, the CIA begins its dolphin program, Project Oxygas. The aim of Project Oxygas is to show that dolphins can be used in attacks against enemy ships. To this end, harnesses and nose cones are created to allow the dolphins to carry items. Someone in the CIA even produces this drawing. The dolphins are happily towing the explosive devices given to them by their handlers on top of the submarine. The program quickly passes its first test. It demonstrates that a dolphin can place a simulated explosive device against the propeller of a PT boat anchored in the open sea. In November 1964, the Deputy Assistant Director of the Office of Research and Development writes that Project Oxygas has progressed more rapidly than we anticipated. It's unclear exactly what sort of simulated explosives these dolphins were carrying. The sentence that specifies this is partly redacted.
How do the dolphins understand when to plant it? Do you know what I mean? Like, I understand they're towing the bomb and you could train them to move it from point A to point B, but how are they understanding how to attach that bomb to a specific rotor or something? Like, yeah, they swim by it, but, like, they don't have opposable thumbs. Like, they're just, like, swimming by it and maneuvering it in a way that they're able to. Yeah, training, no shit, but how?
The CIA probably planned on using conventional explosives, but if this was the case, why the need for secrecy? A 2021 article in Popular Mechanics suggests a haunting possibility. In 1965, miniaturized nuclear weapons might have seemed achievable in the near future. The magnitude of such an idea would certainly explain the need for continued secrecy.
Oh, like they were if they were able to make a mini nuke, they were going to use a dolphin to carry it. I don't know how safe of an idea that is to have a non-human animal carry a nuclear bomb, regardless of how well trained it may be. That seems a little crazy.
The program's first success unlocks other goals. Trainers explore having dolphins.
Did they ever actually use it, though? I understand they trained this, but I want to hear, like, about a time where they actually blew up a submarine by, like, a dolphin. Like, imagine being, like, a Russian submarine guy, and you're like, oh, look, there's a dolphin outside that window. What is he holding?
Dolphins place listening devices on enemy nuclear submarines. The hope is that directly attaching the devices will produce high-quality recordings that allow the CIA to better understand how the enemy's subs work. But wild animals are hard to train. One of the dolphins' strengths is how social they are. They're willing to work, especially as they bond with their trainers. But at some point, this becomes a liability. If the dolphins are performing tasks that please their trainers, then in the field, they'll need extra time to bond with agents before they can be considered reliable. There are also...
No, this is where you start getting them addicted to drugs. This is where you start feeding them puffer fish, because dolphins are addicted to puffer fish. And so you start, like, every time they do a task, you let them get high. right? And then they become like druggy, and then now they're like, to get their fix, they have to go plant the bomb.
So questions about whether dolphins can carry out operations over longer distances.
Yeah, like a cocaine dolphin, effectively.
At some point, the CIA seems to realize its limitations in understanding the dolphin's capabilities, and it contacts...
You just pour cocaine in his blowhole. Good job. Good job planting the bomb on the submarine. Here's your pail for the day. And it's like,
the Navy's Office of Naval Research to help. In 1967, the program's focus changed to intelligence gathering. The dolphins were to be trained to travel great distances, at least 12 miles. They would retrieve dead drops, items or information undercover agents had left behind in the water to be picked up.
How the fuck did it pick that up? I don't understand how it's... Yeah, it's towing a fucking cable. How is it going? Yeah, all right, yeah, that looks about good. Back it up.
A memo from September 14th that year suggests that oxygas had become a joint program of the CIA and the Department of Defense. The CIA seemed unsure that Project Oxygas would produce actionable results, and the program seemed to be running out of steam. A make-or-break demonstration was scheduled for December. At that time, it would be decided whether Project Oxygas would continue. The demonstration seems to have been a failure. After that time, there are no further mentions of the program in the CIA documents. Surviving drawings and photographs gives us an idea of what Project Oxygas might have looked like. Glimpses of Project Cashel are far more rare. But between the redactions, a hazy picture emerges of likely the oddest creature the CIA ever created.
Acoustikitty.
This is Acoustikitty. Acoustikitty is the legendary project of Project Quetzal, the CIA's dog and cat program. Of all the CIA's animal projects, Acoustikitty might have been the most controversial and the hardest to corroborate, depending on who you believe. The saga of Acoustikitty goes in fundamentally different directions. Here's the CIA story. In 1964, the agency wanted to be able to explore conversations held out in the open. Think two Soviet agents having a conversation in a public park. That required getting close and focusing in on the conversation without attracting attention. The solution is cats, who can often prowl around without people ever noticing them. A microphone is surgically placed inside
I wouldn't even say without people noticing them. I think I would notice the cat. I think I just wouldn't care. I would just be like, oh, there's a cat.
Cat's ear canal. A transmitter is placed underneath a bunch of loose skin, and an antenna is woven into its fur. The whole procedure is low risk, humane, and minimally invasive. But the cat is still a cat. It can be trained only so far. Eventually, it will do what it wants. Acoustikitty was never deployed in the field, and the listening devices were carefully removed from its body. But Victor Marchetti, who was special assistant to the CIA's...
This guy looks like somebody that would be like, why don't we plant a wire in a cat?
Deputy director in the 1960s, tells a very...
But he's almost rocking the mutton chops.
Very different story. Here's his...
Talk about... I haven't seen somebody with sideburns. I feel like this is the last guy with sideburns.
His version. It's sometime in the 1960s. The CIA puts a Chinese diplomat in France under surveillance. But their bugs don't just pick up his conversations. They record all the noise in the room, including the squeaking of the couch. Individual voices are inaudible. This is characteristic of the microphones of the day, which tend to record everything around them indiscriminately. The anatomy of ears, on the other hand, allows us to focus on certain sounds and exclude others. This and your brain's auditory processing abilities are why you can have a conversation at a noisy party without being over...
Well, aren't there people that are like autistic that have problems with that, where in high like volume areas they can't discern sounds from others, like in lunchrooms? Because like if you actually when you're in like a lunchroom or a club or something, like it's so loud, but you can just tune out specific sounds, but some people can't do that.
Overwhelmed by every sound.
Jesus, flash warning.
When Acoustikitty turned its head, it would direct the microphone inside its ear. According to Marchetti, to implant the equipment, they slit the cat open, put batteries in him, wired him up, including putting a power pack in his abdomen. The tail was used as an antenna. They made a monstrosity. To focus on a single conversation, Acoustikitty would need to be trained. His handlers found that hunger or sexual arousal would cause him to simply lose interest and wander off, so they attached wires to his brain to monitor and neutralize those impulses.
They put wires in his brain to make him not hungry or horny?
Marchetti claims the CIA did attempt to use Acoustikitty in the field. The cat was then put on a test, sent across the street to eavesdrop on a conversation, being monitored by a van loaded with equipment. And as this poor little monstrosity waddled across the street, a taxicab came down and ran over it. So it was $25 million down the drain. $25 million was a lot of money then. The CIA disputes all this. On its website,
They put $25 million into that cap.
it claims that Marchetti's comments were meant to be a joke, and the unclassified documents are no help. The single document about Acoustikitty is heavily redacted. The CIA didn't just train and transform animals, it also recreated them. This looks like a dragonfly, but look closer, it's a machine, the Insectothopter. The CIA created this tiny gas-powered listening device back in the 70s. It contains a microphone, and it can flap its wings rapidly and fly just over 600 feet in a minute, guided by a laser beam. A remarkable technical achievement, with some serious limitations. Even a light breeze could throw it off course immediately. It was never used operationally. In a memo, the CIA's Deputy Director of Research and Development wrote that unfocused experimentation in the animal programs represented the worst kind of waste in terms of manpower and money. The unclassified documents often suggest that the CIA was simply exploring.
Somebody said gas-powered? Yeah, it was the 70s. Probably didn't. Nowadays, I feel like they probably have better shit. Nowadays, they definitely have, like, drones that look like bugs for, like, spying and shit.
What animals could do without having any real objective in mind. And the results are somewhat disappointing. Ravens were trained for years just to be killed by wild birds. Pigeons randomly disappeared with gear worth thousands of dollars. And depending on who you believe, an expensive cyborg cat was at best useless in the field, and at worst immediately hit by a car. The declassified documents suggest that by the mid-1970s, the animal projects had fizzled out.
Fuck, imagine that, though. You're a part of the fucking CIA group. Like, yeah, we're basically manipulating this cat so we could spy on people. You release it, and 10 seconds later, your fucking 5 years of work just boom, hits it.
Despite this disappointment, the quest to weaponize animals continues.
Oh, yeah.
The United States Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, known as DARPA, has been running programs aimed at controlling insects for espionage. In 2012, a team at
They control insects for espionage? I thought they would just create fake ones.
MIT announced that it had developed a neural probe that plugged into moths' nervous systems, allowing for their flight to be controlled. Engineers at the University
What? They were able to fucking implant something in a moth to where they could just control it like a zombie?
of Washington have implanted moths' antennae into the Smellithopter, a drone that can actually pick up smells. And in 2018, DARPA announced the Persistent Aquatic Living Sensors program. The program explored the possibility of using aquatic creatures as living alarm systems. That includes bioluminescent bacteria, which light up when disturbed by aquatic intruders. Another option was to study the sounds produced by snapping shrimp and Goliath grouper. In the case of the shrimp, disturbances in the audio could even indicate the size and shape of an intruder. It remains to be seen whether DARPA or the CIA can harness the natural world for intelligence purposes, or whether wilderness will remain just that. Maybe someday we'll discover whether any real success stories lie within all those redactions.
Dude, that is fucking nuts. That might have been one of my favorite Fern videos. Genuinely, I loved that.